Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another very exciting episode of the Hardly Millennial podcast, where we are young, dumb, and full of.
We're full of opinions, guys.
Oh, so many opinions. Of course, my name is Adam.
I'm Matthew Lynn. What's up? How's everyone doing tonight?
And happy Easter, everybody.
Happy Easter.
It is Easter
It comes
today.
once a year. It's here today.
It's here today. I hope you guys all filled up on some ham,
Ham.
Is that what people usually eat on Easter? That's what I usually eat on Easter.
Apparently, that's what you ate on Easter.
What do you eat today?
Well, we had a big breakfast.
Okay.
We had a breakfast Easter, so there was no ham involved.
Okay. Do you guys usually do that?
No, this was the first year that we did such a thing.
That actually sounds so good, though.
It was fucking fantastic,
Just
bro.
Can we go? What,
was super good.
Like,
It was just
like everything, like pancakes, waffles, French toast, or
None of those things.
what was it?
It was lots of pastries. We're French.
Oh,
We're
gotcha,
French.
Gotcha.
It was lots of pastries, lots of sausage and bacon and eggs. There was French toast casserole that my aunt made.
That
It was very
sounds-
good.
that
It was
sounds
very
very
good.
good.
Yeah, just a big, kind of less hearty. It was very light.
Oh, that sounds great.
It was very good. Fantastic.
I just eat ham. I love ham.
So you guys had like a dinner kind of thing?
Yeah, kind of like a. What's the in between lunch and dinner? It was like a dinner.
I was gonna say brunch, but that's breakfast and lunch.
Yeah, I think dinner. It was a dinner.
Okay, I just call it early dinner.
Nah. Let's just shorten that shit.
A dinner.
But no, I mean it was a good day. That was a good. It would just relax with some Harry Potter movie marathon. So I just ended
Oh
up
my
watching that at my
gosh, you
parents'
must
house all
have
day.
just had a hard on all day long.
Oh, it was great. I loved it. So
Oh,
I just did that and
boy.
ate some candy.
Did you watch all of them? Did you see them all?
No, I only caught like the last movie, but I'm
Oh.
assuming they were on like.
It's not a fucking marathon.
I know. Well, it was the end of a marathon. I just caught the tail end of it,
Oh,
but it was great though. I loved it. It was a very relaxing day.
I'm sure you enjoyed what you got, the little bit that there was.
So on a little more depressing note.
Oh my!
Some
what-
bad shit happened in the world today.
in the world. Oh, you're talking
Yes.
about
Yeah, Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka. Yeah.
There was what was it? A church it was bombed. Or
Oh, it
there
wasn't
was,
just
like,
one, bro. It was like 8.
Was it a suicide bombing, or was it just like people went in there like planted the bombs or something? Or
I don't really know the deets.
Yeah, I didn't like read into it.
I
too
know it
much.
was bad though. It was upper scale, like richer
Yeah.
churches, and there was like 8 of them, and they all
Yeah, it
blew
was
up
like
at the same
200 are
time.
dead, I think they said. or
Yeah,
close to
I think it's
200.
closer to 300 now. Yeah,
Oh man.
dead, and then a lot more injured. It was big. So Sri Lanka isn't very big. You know where it's at, right? It's at the tip of India.
Okay.
So you know India, it's got the tip on it, and there's like that little like estranged island that kind of comes
okay.
off.
I know what you're
That's
talking
Sri
about.
Lanka.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So it's not real big.
Uh-huh.
I think there's only one major city.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's smaller towns, right? But I think there's only like one major city that's the capital. And what I was reading, and it's weird because I don't remember this, but apparently in the last 10 years, about 10 years ago, they had a civil war.
Oh.
Yeah, which, sounds crazy, but for something that size, it could have just been like a military coup or something. I have no idea.
Right.
But the government changed like 10 years ago, and I guess it's been very peaceful there since then. This is the first time in like 10 years
That's
that they've
anything
had an
major like
attack.
that has happened.
Yeah. So a little bit different hearing it come from Sri Lanka.
Yeah, of all the places you think something like that would happen, Sri Lanka is definitely not top of the list,
No, I would have thought even, in India,
Yeah.
I could see that more. But you never really hear anything about little Sri Lanka.
No.
I always thought it was part of India, to tell you
Right.
the truth. No, it's its own, I think it's its own country.
Yeah,
Its own
I think
thing.
it's one of those, like, it was part of, like, Britain at one point, and I think, like, they broke
Yeah, I
off
think the
from
whole
them,
thing was part of Britain
But
at
I mean,
one
like, I
point.
think they were, like, one of the last parts, like, after India broke off.
Oh,
Like, they were
I
there
see.
For a while, kind of like
I'm
Hong
sure there
Kong
was something like that
Yeah.
going on.
But
But
no,
they're independent now, and yeah, it's kind of a big deal. It's like a
Yeah.
9/11
Well, it was-
size event.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was there was clearly, context behind it. Bombing churches on Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
Christian church. I mean, come on, but
Shit's intense in that part of the world.
Yeah,
because they're not the Middle East at all.
Yeah.
But they're in pretty close proximity to the Middle East. Because they're that little island. So north is
some
India.
of that just kind of bleeds over a little bit.
Yeah, just to their west, across the Gulf or whatever, is the whole Arabian Peninsula. So
Right.
Saudi Arabia, Oman, Yemen, all that. There's a lot of craziness going on in all those places.
Yeah.
So I guess it just leaked over this time.
I read somewhere that, and this wasn't today, this was, I guess, a couple days after, or it might have been just a day after the Notre Dame fire.
Yeah.
Where I guess there was some guy who was apparently planning on suicide bombing some prominent church in New York City, and they caught him before that he was able to do it.
Well, he was going to do it today on Easter?
Not on Easter. This happened a few days ago.
Oh, okay.
So it's just been interesting how we've had all these instances with church, so close together.
Well, I'm sure it has everything to do with Easter.
Well,
Easter's one of
not
the
fire,
biggest.
though,
Oh, we don't know.
Oh,
We don't know what started the fire.
Well, didn't they conclude that it was due to some of the reconstruction shit that was going on?
Well, I mean, that's easy
It's
to
conspiracy.
say. Who the fuck knows? The whole thing burned down, dude. It was 1,000 degrees in there. Who knows what happened? They just know it started in the middle of the roof, which is a pretty convenient location to start a fire if you want to burn the whole motherfucker down. You would start it right in the middle, wouldn't you?
I guess, yeah.
So, coincidence? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Easter's maybe the most prominent holiday for the Christian faith.
Yeah.
I mean, you would maybe
I was
Christmas,
gonna
maybe.
say
That's when he was
Christmas,
born. But the rising of Christ, the resurrection, is huge
Yeah.
to Christians.
I mean, definitely both holidays,
Yeah, very
kinda put it at the
symbolic.
same
A lot of
level,
symbolism.
yeah.
Because for the rest of the world, it's not about a rabbit laying eggs. That's only in
no,
America
no,
that we do
yeah.
that. The rest of the world doesn't have rabbits and eggs and
Right.
shit. They actually, it's a religious holiday in the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a perfect time to blow some shit up if you're trying to make a statement.
Damn, well, statement made.
Yeah, man, it's terrible.
But it makes me curious how this is going to kind of...
I bet they won't raise $2 billion in 24 hours to save Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Which they did for
That's true.
Notre Dame.
I know. I remember there was a lot of
protesting
controversy
that.
about that. Yeah, exactly.
They're protesting it in France right now. The inequality. They're saying, the people are saying that, oh, it's great that they raised the money for Notre Dame, but they're protesting how they were able to raise 2 billion euros in 2 days, but they can't, get the unemployment down or save hunger and shit like that.
Oh, I see.
Just how money is appropriated, where money is put, and how quickly it can be liquidated.
Obtained.
Yeah. If you can fix Notre Dame overnight, then why can't we fix some other problems? Is what they're saying.
The thing is, though,
I mean, I see where they're coming from.
I definitely see where they're coming from, but it's also one of those things of if the country, the country obviously put out this, whatever government organization put out this GoFundMe rather, right? And saying, we want to raise money to rebuild the church. And then it was the people giving them money.
Yeah, I don't know who
raise
the
$2
entity
billion,
is
right?
that put on the fundraising, but I know
But it was government affiliated, apparently, because that's what people are protesting, right? That the government's using this money to
not
do this.
necessarily. I would assume that it's government affiliated. I would assume, but I don't actually know for sure.
Okay.
So they're not protesting the government. They're protesting the appropriation is the word they use of wealth. So how wealth is distributed, but really not even that. It's just
so this is unrelated to the Notre Dame thing.
that's totally related to it. People are pissed that a few rich people were able to have access to $2 billion that quickly
see.
and were
Okay.
able to fix a problem that doesn't actually save anyone's life.
Gotcha.
That's the thing that they're upset
Okay.
about.
Okay,
but
I'm
they're
following.
also happy at the same time
Right,
that they
of
fix. Like if they
course.
did not fix Notre Dame, they would be protesting that.
It's the principle of the thing, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not
But-
like the whole country is on strike, but there's a portion of the population that is upset.
Do you think these rich old people should be forced to distribute their money in other places if they're going to donate money at all to a cause?
No, No, I don't think that anyone should tell you what you
do
have
with
to
your
donate
money,
to.
right? Yeah.
No, so like that is an interesting thought though. Like let's say I have $10,000 that I want to donate.
Uh-huh.
So I'm allowed to donate however much I want, but then the government is the one who would say where it goes to. You know, because they know who needs it more. That's an interesting thought. I don't think anyone runs it that way though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be weird to me if you want to give to a charity, like if everyone wants to donate to only the Red Cross for that year.
Right.
It's a little bit shitty, but at the same time, like it's a fucking donation, dude. It's giving away money.
Right. Well, I agree with you. I think the thing with what's going on in France though is like I'm just a firm believer in, you know, when it's your money, you can do what you please with it. So it's like people who are sitting here protesting like, well, how dare you not give that money to this or whatnot. It's like, well, I worked for this money, so this is the money I have. This is what I would choose to spend
and that's
it
what's
on.
important to those people.
Yeah.
If they were using taxpayer money, which I'm sure they will use some of as well.
Yeah. Of
And
course.
I mean, having Notre Dame does bring in a lot of tourist revenue. It does a lot of good things for the state and for the country. So it's expected that some of your tax money is going to go to fixing it.
Right.
But if let's say it only cost $1 billion and they said we're going to spend $10 billion to make it go 10 times faster,
Right.
then I could totally understand protesting.
Yeah.
Because there's no need for that. You're going to get it done either way. You know, it's a waste of funds kind of thing. But that's not what's happening. This is a few rich people who decided it's really important to them to rebuild this site.
Yeah.
And they can totally do that.
Yeah.
It would be nice if they cured a little bit of hunger, but that's not important to them.
Yeah. And that's my argument. And there's always a level of hypocrisy too that bothers me with it, where it's like, you know, and I'm not trying to downgrade anybody who lives like this, but anybody who I feel like kind of protests that kind of stuff, it's like, well, what are you doing with your last $20? You know, did you go to spend $5 on meat to last you a few days and then donate that $15 to this cause that you believe in? Or did you use that $20 and go out and get fast food or order pizza with your friends that night?
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
a lot
it's
of
like,
the pot calling the kettle black.
Yeah, exactly.
It happens a lot.
So,
I mean, protesting at all is a very what's the word I'm thinking of here? It's not necessarily the first thing I want to say is a first world problem, but that's not what I'm trying to say. It's a very affluent problem. If you're out there protesting on the street how government is using your funds, you're probably not hungry.
Yes.
You're probably not homeless. You know what I mean? You're well off if you're protesting.
Yeah.
So people around the world don't even really do that a lot. So they have other things to worry about.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's
a beautiful right to have, and it's amazing we've built a culture
of
that can
course.
do that.
But I do believe that, and I think this has simmered down a lot, you know, within, I'd say, definitely the last like year and a half. But we definitely went through a period there where it felt like it was a fad to protest, right?
Yeah.
It was like you just
all the cool kids were doing
picked
it.
anything, and you're like, we're going to protest this now. You know, everybody meet up here, and all of a sudden there was a protest over here for gay, for anti-gay, for this, for that, for anti-that, just everywhere, dude.
We're finding a few years later that a lot of that was actually staged and set up, though.
Yes,
that was a very
that's true.
political year. That I remember that. That it was a very political time. It was come to find out that some of those protesters may not have really believed in it.
Yeah.
They may or may not have been financially influenced to protest about those things.
True.
Politics gets scandalous, dude.
But there were plenty of protests, though, that were definitely legit.
There were.
Yes,
Yes, absolutely.
And it was like, those were just the things where sometimes you'd watch. I mean, you always knew, too, because anytime any kind of news person or anybody was trying to ask questions to these protesters, like, oh, hey, what are you doing here? Why are you out here protesting? You know, what was the first response? I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to, or, you know, just screaming chants in their face over and over again. It's like the protesters didn't even know why they were there protesting half the time.
So many times the reporters would go and ask the people, what do you hear about? And they wouldn't even know.
And the interviewers would literally be saying, I'm giving you a platform to talk about your cause. And you're saying,
nobody
fuck
even
you.
knows what the cause is. Yeah. So to go back to the Sri Lanka thing real quick here,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about it here because I enjoy geopolitics, so politics of the whole world and kind of how geography can affect politics. So like how, if there's a giant mountain range in between two countries, that affects the politics between the two countries.
Right.
So it's interesting to me how all that goes together. So if you're a little tiny island that's so small and you're this island nation and you have something honestly worse, it was a bigger scale than 9/11 that happened to them. Okay, you have 8 different places that all blow up at the same time, hundreds of people dead. How do you deal with something like that with the limited amount of resources that they have? Because here in America, they blow up a building, we go to war, right? It's easy. We have a huge military. We can get there in a day. Sri Lanka doesn't have the resources we have. They don't have the money. They don't have the manpower. They don't have a huge military.
Well,
What do they do?
Well, I think Sri Lanka, like a lot of nations out there, when something like this happens, they kind of become, for lack of a better term, a beggar in the streets. Like
They become reliant
like
on
help
other
us.
nations.
Yeah, help us.
Yeah.
And typically, because of events like this, other bigger nations are willing to help. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw help from India. I wouldn't be surprised if the U.S. got involved in some way, shape, or form in helping, or anybody who's still part of the European Union. Is that what it's called?
There's the European Union. There's also NATO, might be what you're
NATO
thinking
might
of.
be what I'm
Because
thinking
India's
of,
part of NATO.
yeah.
I don't know if Sri Lanka is. But so I guess kind of the point that I'm generating here in my head that I'm coming up with is you hear a lot of times people, particularly in America, you'll hear them say things like, let the rest of the world figure out their own problems. We should worry about ourselves first.
Yes.
We shouldn't spend money overseas. We shouldn't send people to help, right? Which, I am somewhat of a believer in. You got to fix your own backyard first. But then you see things like this, where a little bitty place like Sri Lanka gets blown the fuck up and has no way to defend or help themselves. And it kind of makes you think like that is why you spend all the money overseas and not in your own backyard. It's kind of that insurance policy of not having 300 people blown up on Easter morning. You know what I mean? So it's what do you think about the balance between fixing your own backyard and helping your neighbors out?
Well, in terms of like personal morals and beliefs,
Yeah, let's start with that. Let's start with that.
You help your neighbor.
Right.
However, on a political scale, on a world scale,
Yeah.
you either offer help to everyone or you offer help to no one, because because when you start picking and choosing, now you might be helping somebody, but you're creating conflict elsewhere, and we've seen that happen over and over again.
But you're always going to have allies, right? And then you're always going to have enemies. So you would only really want to help your allies so that you make yourself stronger, right?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I do think maybe there should be like a bar set, something physically written down saying like, if something goes from this and beyond, we're definitely there and we have your backs. But anything from up to here, you're on your own.
You're on your own.
And I think there needs to be that differentiation between the two, so that you don't have God, I'm just like losing my train of thought here. You have to have the difference between the two, so that you don't have one person going, well, we got bombed yesterday, aren't you going to help us? Well, yeah, but they got bombed twice, and it's like, well, so we still got bombed. It's, I don't know, it just helps to pick and choose.
Does it bother you when you hear, and I'm putting you kind of on the hot seat here, I don't mean to grill you or anything, but you're the only one I got in the room here to talk to right now.
Go for it.
Right. So do you get bothered if you hear things like, I'm going to make up something. Okay, it's totally unrealistic, but I'm just going to say, like, America sent $1 billion to Armenia
Okay.
to help them with famine.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Or whatever. To help them with national security, let's just say. Knowing that we have as many issues as we have here in our country, and we have unemployment, we have homeless, all those things here in our country, does it bother you to hear that they would send $1 billion to a place like Armenia, somewhere where there's not necessarily, open blasts happening all the time, but they do need help?
Right.
Do you feel like that's a waste of money, or do you feel like it's good to help other countries?
I think what we should do is how any average person would do it. If you don't have the money, don't spend it. Our country is in incredible debt right now. We don't have money to spend.
Well, I mean, we're the largest economy in the world,
right?
Bro.
I get that, but economic wise, if we're in debt, get us out of debt first, and then start using those funds to be able to go do these things in other countries and help other people. But just like if you had a friend who, needed $20 and you're negative in your bank account $100, well, loaning them $20 probably isn't the best thing for you to do at that point. Because now you're hurting yourself from possibly being able to help out later, because maybe now you can't get gas. Maybe now you can't feed yourself. Maybe somewhere down the line somebody's going to need it more, whatever it is. But just in terms of helping other nations, like I said, I still think there should be like a bar. There should still be a line. If something goes past that, okay, we will definitely help you out. But for the most part, though, it's like, get us out of debt first. Regardless of how rich our economy is or how good our economy is, like, get the numbers out of the red.
Right.
I
know for me personally, like, if you would have told me a week ago we're sending $1 billion to Sri Lanka to help with national security,
right,
I would have been like, fuck you in your pants. That's ridiculous. Sending $1 billion to another country. There's not even anything happening.
Right.
Nothing's happened there for 10 years, I would tell them. But then, like today happens, 300 people are dead. There's 8 explosions. Now, if they said, we're sending $1 billion to Sri Lanka, I'd be like, okay, obviously someone's got to help those people, right?
Right.
So it would be very powerful if you were able to convince people that there are issues around the world before the issues happen. And I don't know if it's possible to do that, but that would definitely, don't you think that would solve a lot of problems before they even became one?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think it has the potential to do either or, but because like I said, anytime you help somebody, history has shown us somebody gets pissed off.
Yeah, there's always balance.
Now, what I would be okay with, and I don't understand why maybe more countries do, maybe there's just a lot of gray area that I'm not thinking of, but we live in a day and age where when the most of us want to get funding for something that we want to get done, or if we have a friend in need, who needs medical help and we don't have the money to pay for it, what do people do? They make a GoFundMe. Maybe they make a Patreon to help, boost or to fund their passion. So I don't understand why. Well, and France is a perfect example. Notre Dame happened. They were like, we'll take donations, and people donated, and they got $2 billion, regardless of who it came from. So why can't these governments of these countries do kind of the same thing of like, hey, here's this countrywide GoFundMe, international GoFundMe of come help Sri Lanka, and that money goes to Sri Lanka.
In essence, nations kind of do that. They take a few more steps, though. What they'll do is the government will tend to fix things, take out the debt to fix things, right? Let's say that Notre Dame burns down and it costs $1 billion to rebuild it.
Right.
France's government will take out $1 billion of debt. And then what they'll do is they'll sell that debt. So those are called bonds. You've heard of government bonds.
Yeah.
That's what buying a bond is you're buying a piece of the government's debt and they will pay you back plus interest on that debt. So kind of in essence, it is a GoFundMe in that they're taking on the debt and then selling it back to the people anyway.
Right.
But I get what you're saying in that a donation, there is no paying it back.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It would be taking that step out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's literally just a matter of what people care to donate for.
Yeah.
People are super into Notre Dame, and a lot of people couldn't even tell you where Sri Lanka is on a map.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm sure there's a lot of local millionaires. I don't know if there's any billionaires in Sri Lanka. I'm sure there's one or two, but I'm sure there's local people who are going to try to fund it. You know?
Well, I mean, I feel like if we made it more of a regular thing of this is how we're going to help fix these issues in these places. Because, for example, you can go on GoFundMe.com and just look through people's profiles and current GoFundMe's going on, and you'll find a bunch of stuff you've never heard of, but there's, thousands upon thousands of dollars donated to some of these people for, issues and stuff out there you didn't even know existed. And I feel like if you had a similar system, a similar worldwide system of somewhere where people could go onto those things and check out those causes and check out what people want to get done. And I think people get addicted to donating things just like they do when they see people, oh, this person needs help to get a kidney transplant.
Just have each country have their own profile.
Yeah.
And just people could go on, donate to the country. I mean, it's a very interesting concept. I don't know if it would amount to enough to really actually help those countries.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting concept that maybe it would on a worldwide level.
Well, and I couldn't see there being a lot of issues such as Sri Lanka is having right now, on something like that. But, it could be something as simple of, there's a town in Africa that's trying to, build their first church or something and they need money. People could go through and see even the smallest things like that. But now if you have something rare like the burning of Notre Dame or the thing happening in Sri Lanka that goes on there all of a sudden, well, that's hot news. You're going to have a lot of people who'd go in there now. And I think just $5 here, $10 here,
it would add up to $100.
Yeah, I would think
on a worldwide level, it probably would.
Yeah. So if you do something like that, well, then you don't need any aid from any other country. You're literally getting the aid from people that just want to see your stuff back. And if
I know
anything,
that countries will do that. Countries will give aid to other countries.
Right. Well,
there's
that's what
disaster
we're
relief,
about,
and then there's developmental aid where you help them just to build infrastructure and shit.
Right.
And then there's another entity in the world. Well, there's a few of them, but there's one called the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. And what they do is they're like a big World Bank. But they're not the World Bank. The World Bank is another thing.
Right.
That doesn't. But the IMF will loan out money to developing countries to help them develop.
Right.
So in this case, they may loan Sri Lanka money to help with the disaster relief.
Right.
And the whole point is that the interest rates are very low to pay back. So there's ways that the world does similar things that kind of it's called crowdfunding is the know that. So there's similar ways that they do that. But it would be cool if they opened that up to just regular people.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that would honestly offer more repercussions than some of these government aids, because we've already discussed protesting, and people are much more likely to revolt. And think of people revolting on a worldwide scale of people who donated to a cause where that government took that money and used it for something else. There you go. There's you losing your allies.
Yeah.
Now the next time something happens, you think anyone's going to have your back?
No, what I'm thinking of, though, is that... See, this is where I'm hesitating, that I don't know if Notre Dame is owned and run by the government. It might be a private thing. Because I don't know if governments, at least westernized ones, like what we know a government to be, I don't know if they can use donated funds to build government sites and things. So here's an example. In America, in our government, you can't donate a project to the government. They have to buy it, and it has to be done on a bidding system because it's using public funds. It's I don't know if it's in the Constitution, but it's the law. It's just how things are run. So for example, when they were trying to build the Obamacare, the healthcare website, for you to go on to apply for healthcare during Obama's administration, that site kept crashing and it didn't work very well. So they actually had the CEO, the leader of Pornhub, the pornography site.
Oh, I remember you telling me this.
Yeah, he went to the government and said, hey, I'm literally the leader. I created the largest website in the world. It gets the most traffic of any other website per day in the world, and it never crashes. And he said, I want to build your website for your healthcare. And they voted on it, and they decided that they weren't going to use public funds with anything that had to do with pornography. Okay, so because he was associated with pornography, they didn't want to fund him using public funds because they thought it'd be scandalous. So he came back to them and he said, okay, I'll do it for free. I don't want any money. I don't want my name on it. I just feel like a good Samaritan. I want to see America be great. I'm willing to do this for free. And they actually said, no, we can't legally do that. It has to be done on a bid system. So that makes me think that other countries probably run similarly, especially European ones, and that maybe Notre Dame is a private project that got private funding.
That would make sense.
You know what I mean? I don't know if it's actually run by the government.
Yeah,
There's just weird laws and shit like that.
That's a tough one. Well, because I feel like in the case of like France, or even if an incident like that happened here in America, I think something like, you know, the super old church, iconic church of Notre Dame, you know, has to be a landmark. And I think in order to become a landmark,
Google it real quick. Type in, is Notre Dame privately owned?
Let's see.
We will know momentarily, folks. Please hold.
Is Notre Dame...
Oh, I shouldn't do that. We're going to get fucking trademarked.
They're going to be like...
I think you can use like 8 seconds before they get upset with you. Is it private or publicly owned?
He gave me the fucking university. Let's add church.
Oh, that's privately owned.
After that...
That's funny. Notre Dame University comes up above the church.
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
America.
No, I'm not. One of the most outstanding, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's see what this one is. Construction of Notre Dame. No, just give me a fucking answer.
There should literally just be a thing at the top of Google.
No, it wasn't on this one.
Really?
Yeah, I typed in.
You typed in, is
Notre Dame Church privately owned? ?
Try typing in cathedral. Because it might be looking up like every Notre Dame church from here to Utah.
Touché.
You know what I mean?
I didn't know that name was that like.
Well, I don't either, but it's a famous name. I would assume other churches use it. I think there's only one cathedral, though.
Touché.
Yeah.
No, well, I'm pulling up the Wikipedia. There was no answer at the top of the screen.
Oh my goodness.
The medieval Catholic cathedral and the fourth thing of Paris. The cathedral is concerning the Virgin Mary. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, we don't care, Wiki.
Yeah,
we just want to know who owns it.
Know who the fuck owns
it.
Tower High Bells.
What Chris is already typing furiously. He already knows. He's already
Chris
telling us who
Kyle,
did it. One of them already
people.
knows. Shout out, guys. As always.
Or ownership. There we go.
There we go. Who owns it?
Sorry if that was really loud. Under the 1905 law on the separation of church and state, Notre Dame de Paris is one of the 70 churches in Paris built before that year, which are owned by the French state. The Catholic Church is the designated beneficiary, having the exclusive right to use it for religious purposes in perpetuity. The is responsible for paying. So yeah.
No shit. So the government built it, and then they gave the keys to the Pope. That's what they did.
But the archdiocese does not receive subsidies from the French state, but it looks like it is owned by the French state.
Yeah, but what they did is they built it, and they said, we're going to get all the money from the tourism. But then if you ever need to use this crib, Pope, here you go. They threw him the keys to the crib. And so really, possession's 9/10 of the law. So really, the Pope pretty much runs that bitch. But it's in France, and France government gets all the money when you go visit it.
And apparently there's 70 of churches in
So
Paris.
the Vatican should rebuild that shit. What the fuck, Pope?
too
Insurance,
fucking
motherfucker.
shay.
Yeah, your house burns down, you rebuild it, right?
That is a fantastic
Where you at, Pope?
point.
Where you at?
Yeah, what money
Rebuild
did you
Notre
donate?
Dame.
Fucking Pope.
He ain't gonna do it.
He's not going
Cheap
to do
motherfucker. He
it.
ain't gonna do it. Mm-mm.
I bet he gave thoughts and prayers though. Tweeted out thoughts
That's his
and
job.
prayers. To
That's
the
his job.
people
He
in-
better fucking do that. He better be doing that anyway. Even if it's a perfect day, he better be doing
Oh
that.
my gosh! And he had church. Oh, I guess those are Christian churches in Sri Lanka, not specifically Catholic. But
Yo, he doesn't fuck with that.
no, he doesn't fuck with
Doesn't
that.
fuck-
It
no.
has to be a Catholic church.
Martin
Has to
Luther
be-
fucked it up for us. They won't help us with shit anymore.
Oh
Whew.
my gosh!
Man, you got to be a little educated to understand today's podcast.
Yeah, fuck. Jesus, we even had to educate ourselves a little bit.
Man, no, but in all reality, crazy stuff. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude. It's been a long day, guys. It's Easter. We came back. So if we seem like we're dragging a little bit, well, just deal with it, okay? Be fucking entertained. Here we are.
Here we are.
Did you believe in the Easter Bunny when you were younger? Was that something like your parents?
The Easter Bunny?
Yeah.
Fuck no. What, do I look like a retard?
That you did at no point did your your mom
Fuck
try
no,
to
I
do the
never
Easter Bunny
I never
thing?
believed in the Easter Bunny. No.
Did your parents just not try though, is what I'm asking? Or were you just always like, I
Oh.
don't believe in it?
They didn't
was
give
that
it the
ever a
best
thing your
effort.
mom did?
They didn't give it the best effort.
Oh, gotcha.
They like tried for a second and then they're like, okay, he's not buying it, whatever.
Where did the bunny come from for Easter? Like, why is that a thing we do here?
Oh,
Do you know it all?
I feel like I should. I feel like I should
Like,
know.
where the fuck? How did Jesus rising on the third day translate
Oh,
to
this is probably such common
a
knowledge too.
bunny hiding
Because so many
eggs?
people must ask this question every year.
Well, let's just Google this one too.
That one is definitely going to have an instant answer. Because I feel like we always ask this every year and then we forget because it doesn't matter.
You're right. It is one of those funny things. The story of the Easter Bunny is thought to have become common in the 19th century. Rabbits usually give birth to a big litter of babies called kittens. Oh, interesting. Did not know that. So they became a symbol of new life. Legend has it that the Easter Bunny lays, decorates, and hides eggs as they are a symbol of new life. So I guess
Except
because
rabbits don't lay eggs.
What the? Okay, let's just
Right?
Wikipedia this
Rabbits
shit.
don't lay eggs.
Is a folkloric figure and
No,
symbol
they
of
definitely don't.
Easter, depicted as a rabbit bringing Easter eggs. Originating among German Lutherans, the Easter hare originally played the role of a judge evaluating whether children were good or disobedient.
You are very guilty
behavior.
this year.
Remember we
You
were
were
talking
very
about
naughty this year.
yesterday? Remember we were talking about fucking stories that were told just to scare your kids? That's exactly what the fucking
Yeah,
Easter
from
Bunny
Germany.
was.
Of course it was the Germans.
The Easter Bunny is sometimes depicted with clothes. In legend, the creature carries colored eggs in his basket, candy, and sometimes
creature.
also toys to the homes of children, and as such shows similarities to Santa Claus or the Christ kind, as they both
Christ
bring,
kind?
That's what it says.
What?
As they both bring gifts to children on the night before the respective holidays. So,
You know, in France, when my mom was growing up,
Hmm.
Santa Claus is like Saint Nick or some shit. I don't know. He's something else in France. And he fucking comes in your chimney and he puts candy in your shoes.
yeah,
And then he skittles away.
that's actually really common in a lot of places in Europe.
Like they do it normal like we do now
Mm-hmm.
in France. But when my mom was growing up, she literally would get candy in her fucking shoes. No presents, just candy in your shoes. That's it.
It's some holiday that was, because I remember learning years ago in like grade school. I remember learning about this particular holiday practice. And for some reason, I remember it being something that we were told you did on January 6th. I don't know what it was
very
on
specific.
January 6th, but that was whenever
Chinese
this
New Year?
particular I don't know what it was.
I don't either.
But that's apparently when this particular thing took place, where you left your shoes outside and then somebody came by and put candy in the shoes, whatever the fuck.
That's probably Christmas. It's probably the rest of the world's Christmas.
Yeah, I guess. Just January 6th.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's That's funny. An Easter podcast is becoming about Christmas. There's a bunch of shit about the date of Christmas and when it's supposed to be celebrated.
yeah.
Because it's all about Jesus' birthday, right? He was born that day. That's what
Right, or
Christmas
that's
is.
just- yeah, that's when
If you're
we
not
celebrate
Christian,
it.
you don't celebrate Christmas. You celebrate something else.
Right.
So he wasn't born in December.
No, he was born in the spring, wasn't it? Like he's supposed to be born in like May or something like
You
that.
could ask 12 different people. You get 12 different months. I'm sure there's a consensus. I've heard February.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I'm sure that there's a consensus of something. But it's definitely not
December.
December. Okay. The fucking Romans made it December because they needed a holiday to fill out their calendar.
Uh-huh.
So I'm sure that different places around the world celebrate it a few days differently than each other.
Yeah.
Because there's probably not a solid agreement on when to celebrate it.
Yeah, well, I know most, at least westernized places do it on the 25th. But I know the thing that differs is just all how they like depict Santa Claus, right? So I believe in Australia, because it is summer during Christmas in Australia,
Is it?
like they
Oh, shit.
they have this thing of like Santa coming in this like red like wetsuit on a jet ski.
What?
Like, yeah, there was just something outlandish.
That's crazy.
Like that. But yeah, because it's full summer there. They're south of the equator, man.
So it's always summer?
well, it's just summer when it's our winter, and then when it's our winter, it's their summer.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, they're
backwards?
opposite of us. Yeah, anything south of the equator is opposite
What about north of the equator?
us.
Oh. Okay, it makes sense now. I gotcha. I was thinking the equator went the other way for a second. I don't know why. It's been a while. Bear with me. It's late at night, guys. I was thinking the equator, if you look at a globe, I was thinking it went up and down.
Yeah.
And I was like,
know
what the
you're
fuck
talking
would be the
about.
difference between that and that? Mm-hmm. No, that's the prime meridian.
Yeah, there you go.
The equator's the one that goes horizontal.
Yeah, horizontal.
Okay.
But anyways,
Anyway, yeah.
Santa Claus on a jet ski. That's what they got going down there. If I'm wrong, if you're from Australia and I'm wrong,
Someone
about
is
that,
typing furiously like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I'm pretty confident though that was like what they believe. I mean, it's fucking summer. What else? Are
How
you
does he
going to
keep the
believe?
gifts from getting wet?
I don't know.
Does he bring gifts?
I fucking.
Or does he
hope
just bring
so.
swarms?
He just brings sweet waves, brah.
For anyone who doesn't know, Australia, there's something weird about it, just geologically,
Mm-hmm.
and swarms of all kinds of creatures tend to
Oh yeah, I've definitely
go
seen.
around Australia.
I've seen a lot of pictures of crabs. That happens with crabs.
Dude, there's crabs, there's frogs, there's fish, there's insects, like all kinds of different animals. Each year, it's like a different one. There's been rats, there's all kinds of shit. And they just flock, like these huge swarms go around Australia, and then we'll leave.
It's so weird.
It's just a funky ass island, dude.
I would love to visit one day, dude. I have not had one person who has gone to visit Australia and hasn't come back and said something along the lines of like they either want to move there, they could definitely see themselves living there. Like everybody, and I've had a couple of friends who've jumped the gun and just done it and gone and lived there for a while.
So what's that? What's the place called? It's the triangle where the Bermuda Triangle. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Bermuda Triangle, where all the planes fall out of the sky and disappear and ships disappear and shit.
Yeah.
If you take the middle of the Bermuda Triangle, if you look at it from the sky and you dig a tunnel straight through the earth, the other end where you pop out, you're in Australia.
Really?
Yes. Yes. So they think
a little
there's.
strange,
I was
yeah.
thinking of that with the swarm thing. I heard that when I was watching the thing about the swarms. They think that something about gravity or not
Like the
gra- what-
magnetic
magnet.
force,
There you
yeah.
go. They think the magnetic field is weird theirs, or that's where they all go through the earth or something.
Oh, that's
Yeah. So that's
is
why
crazy.
Australia is funky.
There's this thing I was really into at the time that was called spirit science. And very like outlandish kind of stuff, like belief systems and stuff. But it was one of those where it's like some of the things were super outlandish, but they like connected dots that you didn't even know needed to be connected.
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
thing, you know what I mean? And one thing they were talking about, and remember this is a total like spirituality kind of way of looking at things. So they went to like sacred geometry a lot, and one of the things they were talking about was these things called Merkabahs, and they believe
One more time?
they're called Merkabahs, if I'm
Merkabahs.
pronouncing that correctly.
Love them. What do they do?
So they're basically like they were saying how that somewhat like explains like all the pyramids in different parts of the world, and they were showing like if marking all of them, they kind of start making a pattern if you were to connect them. And they think that some of these just over time, these civilizations got drowned underwater as, you know, tectonic plates moving or whatever.
So what's a Merkaba?
These like ways to, if this is years ago I watched this, but I think it was like ways to like channel the Earth's like natural energy kind of thing.
The Merkaba would be the phenomenon that happened that made all these different people around the world start building pyramids.
Kind of, yeah, like a sense of collective
force,
consciousness.
I think collective consciousness is the reason why you see pyramids all over.
I think
I've never heard
also.
about this that you're talking about.
Well, it was, and they started showing where they were all placed and everything, and they were going through different examples of like weird things that have also happened in these places, and like they believe that the whole thing with the Bermuda Triangle is that there was one built there, and somehow it got sunk into the water just over time. So at the bottom of the ocean floor, there might be some ancient like pyramid there somewhere, and then that's why there's these weird things going on, because they mention kind of the stuff in Australia too.
Well, a lot of people have dived down around there looking for shipwrecks because there's a lot of gold down there from all the ships, and you'd think they would have found a
yeah, that's true. I guess I didn't think about that. Have there really been a lot of people down at the floor of where the Bermuda Triangle is? I don't know how deep it is.
Well, I don't know, but I would assume if you're looking for shipwrecks, you go to the Bermuda
where you
Triangle,
go,
right?
right?
That's where they all wreck. You're bound to find something. But I don't know. Maybe they're afraid that they'll get lost or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Bermuda Triangle's weird. It's just one of those weird, like,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was around in ancient times, or maybe they called it something else, or I think it's off the coast of America?
Yeah, I think
Right?
it is actually.
It's off the eastern coast, isn't
Yeah.
it? Or am I totally insane?
No, I think what the fuck are we wondering, guys? We're Googling a lot.
Anyway,
today,
I think
guys.
it's in a place where it maybe would not have been discovered until more modern times.
Well, I mean, a place like that, the only way for it
Where
to
the
get
fuck is the Bermuda
it's
Triangle?
between Florida and Cuba.
Okay.
So it's like
Nah, they've been sailing around down there for a long
Yeah.
fucking minute.
there you go. You can see a picture of it. I'm showing you
Oh,
right
the
now.
Bermuda. Okay.
So
yeah.
it's like right wedged in between. The tip of it's like wedged in between. There.
Dude, I know my geography.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah. So, I mean, the only way for some place like that to get discovered is just by the process of all these ships and everything, and planes crashing or disappearing. Like,
Well,
that's
I
how
think,
something
like-
like that. I mean, it's just through reports, right?
I think
Records?
radar and electronics and stuff actually go crazy when you're going through it. I think.
Okay, it has to be a magnetic force.
That's what
then
everyone
thing,
says.
Yeah.
Because I think
Especially
that
if it goes
like
through to Australia,
compasses
yeah.
and stuff actually go crazy in the Bermuda. I'm pretty sure, dude, unless it's just a myth. I've never been there.
Yeah.
But I think that there's actually weird electric shit that happens when you go through it.
this is something I definitely want to look into more and actually have.
It's fucking
like, I
Bermuda
feel like-
Triangle, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
It's been around forever.
I know. Well, fuck. We obviously know very little about it.
Well, we don't talk about it a lot,
That's true.
which makes me think maybe we did it.
Well,
Maybe we sunk something down there.
well, that's why I want to do more research on it and then perhaps do a whole podcast about it. Because there's a lot of shit we don't know about the Bermuda Triangle. At least I personally don't know about it.
How did submarines talk to each other?
Well, through radar. How do
Well,
submarines talk to
How do
each
they
other?
talk to each other? If you're under the ocean and you want to talk to another submarine that's
It's still
50 miles away under the ocean, how do you talk to it?
it's still through the process of radar,
Sonar?
isn't it? Sonar, yeah, isn't
It
it?
gets fucked up in the waves. You're going through water, not air. Water is not. It's denser than air. It gets fucked up.
Well, I don't know. Do you know the answer?
Well, they'll tell you that they shoot a little antenna up in a buoy that goes up to the surface, and the other one will shoot a little antenna up, and then they'll talk to each other, and then they'll suck their little buoys back in.
Okay.
It's fucking bullshit.
Is it?
It's fucking bullshit, dude.
How do you know?
It's just my theory.
Okay.
I don't think that nuclear submarines in the time of war are fucking sending little buoys up to do with it. No. We laid antennas in the fucking ground. That's what we did. We laid them all across the ocean. We've been doing it for a long fucking time.
So you think that's
They don't talk about it. Fuck yeah, it's fucking shit up, dude. Absolutely. That's why the whales beach themselves and shit. Yeah. It's for our submarines, dude. Submarines are super duper powerful in times of war.
Wouldn't you see this in more places then, aside from just the Bermuda Triangle?
Well, maybe that was the first ones we laid down, and they're old. Maybe the technology wasn't as good, or we fucked up. Maybe we had a whole boatload of them ready to go out to the Atlantic, and it fucking sunk. And now there's like 13 fucking radars all piled up on top of each other. They're just giving off these crazy signals. Yeah, dude.
Maybe.
It's the submarines. I'm telling you, it's the submarines. They're too powerful. You have to have control of the sea lanes in time of war. And to have control of the sea lanes, you use submarines. That's how you blow up the ships on the surface.
Couldn't enemy submarines, though, like, take advantage of those antennas put in onto the ocean floor and be able to, like, listen in on conversations
Dude, we can't use the cell phone towers in Mexico.
Oh, true.
They're all on different wavelengths. They're all on different frequencies. Yeah. No, dude.
Shit.
We fucking hammer antennas into the bottom of the ocean floor, and we fuck up the wildlife. We don't give a damn. And we're ready for World War III. I'm telling you. Yeah, we're sinking all the ships with our radars.
Oh, my gosh. Well, maybe that's what's going on, man.
Look into it, guys.
Maybe.
You won't find any information on it. Zero. It's super top secret how submarines talk to each other. If you try to look that shit up, you'll have Homeland Security all over you, dude.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'll try to look that shit up afterwards.
Look it up. I got into it for a while.
Yeah. The Homeland Security got on your ass?
No.
You avoided that?
There's like zero of you. You're not going to find any information on how submarines talk to each other. They're going to tell you that they use buoys.
Well, that would be the information, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you're going to get like 2 sentences about it, and that's it. They don't want you to know. It's top secret.
That's crazy, man.
The world's fucking crazy. Dude, the governments of different countries are just people. They're just dudes, usually. I guess there's some women, but it's usually just dudes like you and me. They're nothing special. They're no geniuses. And they're in charge of all these millions of people and billions and trillions of dollars. And they do stupid shit just like me and you would do, especially if there's a war when it comes to military.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I have no doubt that the governments of the world have their hands in some shit that is just like, what the fuck? But, you know.
Well, they'll try stupid stuff. It's fun. Like some of the stories of World War II and things that we tried to outsmart the Germans. Oh, there's a lot of, I don't know, like specifics right off the top of my head. But there's a lot of just funny stuff that was attempted and failed and never attempted again.
Well, I guess that's how you learn to win a war.
That's how you learn to win a war. Exactly.
In different ways, right?
Exactly. But yeah, they don't have all the answers, man.
Damn.
So, just a little bit of Easter Day conspiracy for you all.
Some Easter Day conspiracy. And on that conspiracy note,
I got on a little bit of a tangent. I
enjoyed it.
I feel very deeply about submarines and how they communicate.
I could tell.
I got into it when I was a teenager.
I respect that passion.
Well, because one day I was thinking, my dad was in the Navy too, so I asked him one day. I was like, "Dad, how do submarines talk to each other?" And he was like, "Careful who you ask that to." I was like, "What?" He's like, "You can't just talk about that." I'm being a little bit silly, but yeah. He was like, we don't know. Nobody actually knows how the fucking submarines talk to it. And then once you tell a like 14-year-old that, when they've already had the idea in their head and they think they're super smart because they had this crazy idea, it was done. I was obsessed.
Well, shit. There's a little food for thought for you guys this Easter Sunday. Go to church. Have
and watch out for submarines.
Watch out for submarines. Any final thoughts, Matthew?
I think we've had enough of my thoughts for today. Love you
All right,
guys.
guys.
See you tomorrow.
Remember Patreon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.